Friday morning. Nice to have you back with us. And she's here as well.
Who's she? The cat's mother?
The heart.
We're having a discussion about chili peppers. How hot. Yeah. I'm trying to make him hot as well. It'll take a little while.
No, I can't do peppers. Can't do chili peppers.
Or you can do heat though. We've got to heat it up. A little bit of paprika. Can you do paprika?
I love paprika.
Can you do cayenne pepper?
No.
Okay. We will find something. I have to bring you some goulash, make you really warm.
Oh. But goulash you could do with paprika.
Yes, that's what I was saying. I'll bring you that. And we grow the own paprika as well.
So what? Meal? Yeah. Checkers, Woolworths, and Pick and Pay offer these like 60-minute services. Mm-hmm. You offer sort of 1 year service.
There's nothing better than actually just growing your own food, going outside, picking it, bringing it in, putting it into your food. And actually we're talking today about somebody who does, well, she sets up gardens for people and chefs to be able to go and do just that. So they have like the shortest distance from fork to fork. And you should be into that because you're a chef.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Yeah. So you just like pop out and whatever happens to be like growing in the garden at the time of the year is what you make the hero of the dish. And then you've got all different things growing all the different times, so you don't have to wait for a year. And whatever you've like grown and you had extra, you either preserve it in the freezer or you pickle it. And you can still use it all the way through the other months.
Now, that's the sort of person I want to talk to.
Well, you're going to talk to her. It is the delightfully beautiful other blonde who I play with on television, Linda Galvad. And you've spoken to her before, and she's just absolutely wonderful. How are you doing, Linda?
So happy to be here with you two. A joy, in fact.
Well, we're going to make you laugh as well, we hope. Now, Linda's just come back from overseas. You were in London, yeah?
Yeah.
And you went to go and visit a lot of different gardens.
Wonderful gardens.
Okay, for those who don't know about Linda, she goes around and sets up these incredible organic vegetable gardens. And the one which is her, I'd say it's the jewel in your crown, is the Sarapana garden at the Saxon Hotel in Johannesburg. Okay. So that's all organic. And so do you want to give us a bit of background about that and then tell us some of what you saw in England that you would change for gardens here in South Africa?
So the garden at the Saxon Hotel is a rooftop garden, and we were commissioned to do it by David Higgs, Mel, someone you know really well, in 2012. And basically what we do is we have to grow whatever the chefs want to do for a season. So we meet up with the chef. Currently, the chef there is Matthew. He's fantastic. He's the executive chef. And we meet before the season and we discuss what they want to grow and have on their table for, winter, summer, spring, summer, and autumn, winter. And we grow that. We make sure that they've got produce for 365 days a year. And as you said earlier, it's all, the crops have to go one after the other. So whatever they pick, they then have the successive crop of, cabbage, broccoli, kohlrabi, all the cruciferous vegetables which are applicable for this time of year. What I saw overseas, vegetables? Cruciferous, winter crops, but they are particularly the brassica family, cruciferous or cabbage family, known, colloquially as the cabbage family, which includes cabbage, kale, cauliflower, broccoli, radish, in fact, turnips as well as horseradish and rocket and wild rocket, but those are grown more in summer, wild rocket and rocket, cultivated rocket. But a wonderful selection because kale, for example, we have 5 different kales that we sell, different colors, different shaped leaves, very pretty for the aesthetic appeal of a vegetable garden, organic vegetable garden. The second part of your question, no.
He doesn't
Broccoli?
look enthralled about the idea of kale.
No.
No, I see so.
I love kale, but if it comes prepared correctly.
That's what the thing is about the preparation. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm just going to go and get it and throw it in a smoothie, and you'll sit there, and I've seen some people doing these immune boosting and health boosting kind of smoothies and things, and they just look like they're really not enjoying eating that, or drinking it rather.
Yeah. Sorry, the second part of the question?
So what I saw overseas, well, particularly with Charles Dowding, who's the father of no-dig gardening, which basically means you don't dig in the soil. What you do is you add your organic compost, all the time, especially before your major growing seasons. And one thing, well, there are two fascinating things that he does that I've never done. The one is, which is a huge thing, is you never stand on your soil. That is like religious terminology in growing and in vegetable gardening, because it compacts the soil and it destroys any of the microbes or life in the soil, especially when the soil is wet. It definitely does compact your soil. You should never stand on your soil. But he doesn't agree with that. He believes that the soil is strong enough, the growing your soil. We both believe in growing our soil. So I always tell my students, you don't grow the plants, you grow the soil, and that will take care of the plants. So all your health resides in your soil, and all your nutrients as well, which your plants, uptake while they grow. And that's in fact how you benefit for vitamins, nutrients, etc. But he believes you can stand on your soil. That's one major thing. And the second major thing is he doesn't believe in crop rotation. Sure, you do observe your crops, and when they get to a place where they're really not performing well, then you do crop rotate, whereas we crop rotate every relevant season. So winter, we crop rotate. We don't plant the same crops in the same place the following winter, and we do the same thing for summer. So those, I would say, are the two major differences between what he does and what we do over here.
Why does he not want to do the crop rotation? I mean, because it's something that's been drummed into us with the organic vegetable gardening, so that the soil doesn't become depleted in one kind of nutrient. So you'll take like a leafy vegetable the one year and a root vegetable the next year, and then just move them around like that. Why is he not doing that?
I was so fascinated by that too, Mel, because as you say, it's been drummed into our heads that, crop rotation is imperative, and it's one of the, I would say, 5 methodologies used in organic gardening. And in fact, all the organic gardening education or gardens that I've viewed outside of, the UK, etc., and in the UK, everyone believes in crop rotation. But I think Charles' view comes from the fact that the soil is so healthy. He uses all his own compost. He does get horse manure to add into his compost, but he believes that the soil is so healthy that you actually don't need to crop rotate, because the soil will be replenished every growing season anyway when you add your compost. But I did notice that there were some spinach leaves that we discussed while we were there, and he did remark that, maybe it's time to move them. So I thought, okay, a little bit of crop rotation there. I was happy to see that. But there's a few things that we do differently. It was a great honor to spend time with him in the vegetable garden. One thing that was really exciting was we found a frog while we were harvesting lettuce for the restaurant that he supplies. There was a group of us doing the harvest, and there was a little frog that was hiding in one of the lettuces. And frogs are not something we see very often here in Johannesburg. So I was delighted.
Whereabouts is that garden, and which restaurant is it?
I don't actually know the name of the restaurant. I actually forgot the name. But his garden is in Somerset, and the name of his property is called Home Acres, and the garden is magnificent. We're actually going to be doing quite a big expose on the garden as a newsletter on Facebook, because there's just so many beautiful things to show. The garden is basically at his home. It is his home garden. And he's probably got one of the most beautiful greenhouses I've ever seen. One of my favorite things, it's spring there now, although it's still quite cold for us at 13 degrees. But in his greenhouse, which I would say is about 8 meters long by about 3 to 4 meters, 4 to 5 meters wide, and the temperature inside the greenhouse was 21 degrees. And the reason is he has what's called a hotbed, which is about 2 square meters by 2 square meters. It's about 2 square meters, sorry. And it's about 1.5 meters high. And all that's in there is horse manure. And as you know, Mel, as the horse manure decomposes, it gets really, really hot, which brings the heat up in the whole greenhouse. And in fact, he puts straw at the top and he germinates his seedlings on top of the hotbed. And I couldn't actually believe how extensive the heat permeated throughout the whole greenhouse. And that is something that we can all benefit from, especially in the colder areas or in a valley or near water where it really does get cold. In your greenhouse or tunnel, you can create your own hotbed. In fact, Mel, I wonder if you remember on Gardening 101, I did something like that, a hotbed, which I had seen at his property before, 7 years ago when I was there for a course. But just seeing it again, just, punctuates that in my head, if I can say that, because it's really something useful that doesn't take electricity, because God help us if we need electricity these days. So it's really going back to, grassroots and having something available that, we can all use and benefit from.
Let me get this right, Linda.
Yes.
So this hot box...
Not a hot box, a hotbed.
Hotbed.
Yeah, there's a difference.
We're talking about other kinds of grass here, okay?
This is 2 meters by 2 meters.
Yes.
Is there a sort of tray that he has built in the bottom to put the compost into?
That's a great question. Actually, the tray, it's not. There's no tray. It's on the ground. It's on soil. Okay. But the sides are made out of wood, quite a thin wood, like a chipboard kind of a wood, and held together really by wire. And he has packed the horse manure in there, which he changes continuously.
How high above the horse manure is the seeding
level
or whatever you want to call it?
So the seedling, the grass, there's straw actually that he places directly on top of the horse manure, and right on top of that is the seedling trays. And that's about, I would say the roof is about 2 meters above that. So the actual pile is 1.5 meters. Wow. And then above that, it's another 1.5 or 2 meters to the ceiling of the greenhouse.
Smoking.
Jeez, so that's a fair amount of horse manure that he's using.
Yes, which he doesn't change. What he does is, because as the decomposition process, emits this heat, the heat actually starts to come down, because as the decomposition process happens, once it's finished, or it needs to be basically the same as compost, you need to turn it. So you need to bring the outside of the product in, so the decomposition process can increase again, the heating process. But what he does is he just replaces the horse manure. I think it was 2 months, I can't remember, but you can test that yourself, because the heat will decrease. And over time, it will decrease exponentially. So you'll be able to tell that you need to add more or fresh manure. And you don't have to particularly use horse manure. You can use cow manure as well. As long as it's wet, it's not, it can't be dry, because obviously then there'll be nothing to decompose. It will already be back to grass or straw or hay or whatever they've eaten.
So we just need a garden that's big enough to keep a horse or a cow in. To be able to have a greenhouse. Actually, you could run your whole house on that.
It just fascinates me, because I'm going down today to the Natal Midlands. And I'm just thinking of the amount of horses and cattle and that down there. And if you could utilize that in something like this,
to heat up hotels and guest houses and stuff as well.
Yeah, no, I wasn't getting that carried away. I was just thinking of the food. If you could build a structure like this and start generating, because that's what you really are. You're generating seedlings to prep them to become part of an organic garden.
But it's interesting how, not just in England, but we always think of, I know that some people say that the English are a nation of shopkeepers. And I think they're a nation of gardeners. And I think that it's really becoming apparent here in South Africa as well, that people are getting back into growing their own. And especially with have you heard about the cottagecore movement? So cottagecore, I think, is also just getting young people to get more in touch with the earth and growing their own and becoming self-sufficient. Did you see a lot of that happening in England? Are you seeing a lot of it happening here? Are you getting more people? Because I know at one stage everybody's going, we have our own veggie garden at home. But like it was the thing to have, it was the fashionable thing to have because I've got a garden and it's expensive. Do you think that there's more people getting into it now, Linda?
Definitely. I think that people have noted two things. It's actually three. During COVID, it was a matter of having access to food, which they were so afraid that they wouldn't have access to. It's always kind of in the peripheries. It's been health. That's come about over the last, I'd say, 3 to 4 years. Now it's something that's definitely more focused on. Health is a big one. And building your immunity, having your organic vegetables. Your nutrient loss, once you pick an organic vegetable, your nutrient loss can be up to 20%. So imagine what you lose by the time you go shopping for those vegetables at wherever you go shopping for them for. The third thing is, in South Africa, the movement towards growing your own is now also motivated by becoming self-sustainable. I think it was yesterday we had load shedding 3 times. So I think it's definitely becoming a necessity to, be as self-sustainable as possible. There's a huge drive towards that. And in fact, moving out of the cities, which is happening in the UK as well. A lot of people have moved out of the city because, as you know, during COVID, no one was going into offices, etc. Although at the moment, nobody, nowhere, needs to wear a mask at all, a face covering, as they call it, which is quite something.
We're going to have to wrap this up, but I want to concentrate. Maybe we can come back, Mel, if Linda has the time, and talk about the garden itself. But let's concentrate on the core of the garden, and that's the compost and all the rest of it.
As you said, soil is everything. Compost is food for the soil. Fertilizer is food for the plants. Plants are food for our souls. And that's all there is to it.
Okay, well then, why don't we take that as a working...
A jumping off point.
Yeah. Maybe, I'm not sure if you've got your diary with you, Linda.
Just diarise every single Friday now, okay? We're going to chat to you all the time.
No, but over the next 3 or 4 weeks, if we wouldn't mind having a chat with you.
Sure.
And we can literally build this up from a load of shit.
Literally a load of shit, eh?
Literally, yes.
Yeah. To a fully fledged little, and I think we keep it small.
Yeah. Little garden. The size of a door garden.
Yeah, a little organic garden.
Yeah.
Would you mind that?
Not at all. I'm just looking at a date for Shavuot.
Okay, don't worry.
We'll fit you in when we can.
Okay, perfect. It's on the
Linda, thank
4th,
you
so
so
it's
much for
okay.
your time. It's been
Welcome.
fascinating, and
Thank you.
let's build this little garden.
Yeah, and then of course, I mean, they can just, people can go and check out what Linda's doing and
Yeah.
see where she's been on her site, which is sought-after-seedlings.coza,
Yeah.
because she does wonderful courses as well if you want to learn how to become an organic gardener. But this way, people can get the woo, I want to do this myself.
Yeah, we take the basics and we slowly build them up to a small and manageable little organic garden.
Absolutely. There's
And
no reason not
you
to.
can take it as big as you want to, but we'll build a small little organic
I live in a
garden.
tiny property. My garden, my veggie bed, I think is probably about 2.5 meters by 1.5 meters. That's that's all the space I have. And it's the only place I have sun as well. So, but you can grow everything in there.
Yeah.
Even a sacrificial rose. You have to have one of those. Keep the bugs off your veggies.
Okay, right.
Right. There we go. Okay.
The designated...
Designated dying rose.
There was that movie, The Designated Survivor.
Yes, with Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
That'll be our rose.
This is the reverse one.
Yeah.
This is one rose you put in and that's going to get nailed.
It's going to get nailed. It's like putting in crinum lilies to keep the lily borers off of your all your other plants, including your amaryllis. You have to have something sacrificial in the garden. Right?
Shame, poor little bugger.
Oh, well,
I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to building up an organic garden.
Yes.
And I think I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to make that little contraption.
You can do it in a tiny little greenhouse. Oh, but you want to keep the heat in, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they have colder weather over there. Although I think we're going to have a cold winter. The snow's already started. So dress up warmly, get out in the garden, go make your vegetable garden happen, okay? Even if you just start digging over stuff and putting compost in. And then you can pop out into the sunshine, get a little bit of exercise, and go in and cook immediately, and you won't be losing any nutrients. That's the way to go.
Sounds good to me. Thank you for joining us on this Friday, and we'll check out what we can get together with Linda over the next few Fridays and
Fantastic.
get you moving.
Get the girls back together.
Yeah, and the boys. Excuse me.
But she's my Linda. You can't have her.
I don't want to have her. I just want her knowledge.
You do. I know. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'm going back to my garden bed.
Jerry, bye.